Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, how was your Christmas?
My Christmas was all right.
Sure.
Um, uh, I'm it was good. It was good. My wife is from Fort Wayne, so we spent a lot of time there. Um, and I'm glad to be back. I love my in-laws. Some people have like terrible experiences with their in-laws. I don't have that at all. My in-laws are supremely wonderful people that I get along with, and I enjoy being around. I just wish they didn't live 3 hours away, and I wish that the past 4 days haven't been like a frozen Midwestern hellscape. Uh, it was kind of
Yeah,
it's been a pain in the ass just like existing. You know
yeah,
what I mean? This is it's a Wendigos playground out there.
it's our fault.
Yes, we invoked his name and he doth arrived. Yeah, man. It's real paranoid, like leaving the house alone and worrying about pipes freezing. And then, I have a job where I worry about facilities and shit and that whole thing. So I'm very, very Christmas was beautiful. I'm very glad to be home and recording this show with you. Let me just put it like that. So
Yeah, I am. My Christmas isn't over yet because of
still in the
l-
throes of it.
living in the Midwest. I still am. But I'm like, I mean, God, I love Christmas. I do. Christmas is my favorite holiday. But I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the new year, just all of this to be over. Like I'm just done with it now.
You know,
And
if I might interject for a second, friend of the show, Mike Vanderbilt, posted something on Twitter about how he is looking forward to the influx of tweets from people that had fairly successful years, both professionally and personally, commenting on how they can't wait for this dumpster fire of a year to be over.
yeah,
And I thought about that for a second because that was definitely the vibe that you and I, when us going back, I don't know if we did on the show or just when we talked, talking
yeah,
about how like, oh, I fucking can't wait for this year to be over, can't wait for next year, blah blah. And I thought, but you know what? Let's talk about this year. Like this was a pretty good year for us. Like I fucking survived all the shit I survived. You survived all the shit you survived. We got sponsored by fucking Manscaped. We did great things professionally. All those events that we hit up, all those friends that we made, all
yeah.
the position that we're in going into next year because of stuff that happened this year with the Frogman Fest and everything. Like I agree. I can't wait for 2023 to start. But let's not act like we had the worst year in recorded human history. Like it was
Well,
fairly successful for us. I mean, you know what I mean?
no, I love the optimism.
I think
I do.
so.
You're right.
Has our listener base increased or decreased? Dude, you even
Oh,
have to think about that. I would think.
from year to year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that definitely increased.
All
Um,
right. I
for
mean,
sure.
do you have you got speaking engagements coming up? Some fairly high profile shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to look forward to. There were some bright spots through 2022, and I agree it's not fair to just kind of be like, dismissive of those things because the rest of the year was fucking awful. But
Remember that time we got really wasted on your couch? Like that was awesome.
that was pretty cool.
It was pretty.
That wasn't
Yeah.
this year though. That was last year. That was
No, it
2021.
wasn't. It was this. Oh, you're right. No, no, it was this year.
Nope,
Was it last year?
it was last year.
No.
Yeah, because we went to Withville. We got wasted on my couch, and like it was like my birthday week, and we went to Withville in like the beginning of June. So yeah, it was July
I
2021.
saw you at conventions all this year. Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. We hung out IRL.
We didn't get wasted on my couch not once this year.
No, we really didn't get that fucked up together this year. That's kind of weird. All those events we were pretty sober at. I got wasted at Withville, but you seem to have your shit together.
I mean,
Because you didn't want to do the craft beer thing. Remember,
like
you were like, I don't drink this shit.
I couldn't, but I'd been drinking all day at the like I do. Listen, if you see me at an event, I'm drinking. Like
I know.
check
That's why I like you.
check
You
my
smell
crowd.
in real life. You smell like my grandma.
I smell like your grandma. You like
covered in
rum too?
covered in cat hair, smelling like gin. Like, oh,
Like your
let's go watch
grandma.
Murder She Wrote together. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But I agree. There were some really good positives that did happen in 2020. It was definitely, I'll tell you, nothing monumental, but it was definitely a bridge, right? A bridge to the party that's going to be 2023, and that's how I feel about it.
I think that's what every year should be. It should be a transitional year because you should be constantly evolving and growing and maturing and all that stuff. But yeah, I think there's as much as we are very very on Wednesdays we talk weird show. We're very optimistic and we're very much looking
Yes.
forward to 2023. Let's not act like this was the worst year of our lives. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, and it laid the groundwork for things to come. And I'm super stoked about that. And things to come is kind of the theme of this week's show.
Yeah, this week we are talking all about coming, how to come, the best time of the day to come, the best
what the come's going to look like,
what it might look like, consistency and volume and things like that. That's really gross. I'm sorry.
It's got a tint of yellow from rusty pipes.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know about your rusty pipes. All right, let's. Wait, that doesn't really happen? Does it really happen?
Oh well, not to the yes.
Okay,
yeah, I'll just blanket answer, one word answer, yes or no. It's yes. Yeah.
Like you're sick, right? If that happens, there's something wrong.
No, if you just let it sit for too long. If you go like I don't know. I mean, think about like if you don't turn a faucet on for a week and then you turn it on, the water's not going to be clear. It's going to be a little yellow. Well. Same thing with your, you get rusty pipes.
Okay. Sure enough. All right. Well,
anyway,
we're not really going to talk about cum. Well, we already did talk about cum, but let's get into some news. Pato, you got some news? You said you had some news.
I do.
Or you want me to go first?
You go first. I'm nervous.
Okay. I just have one thing that I just kind of want to briefly touch on for a second. Mm-hmm. The big thing going around right now are these UFO videos from Vegas.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you've seen them.
I have actually, yeah. Okay. And it was I mean, if it was the size that it was suggesting that it was pretty fucking scary. It was like out of my dream that I was talking about with like ships that huge. The one video that I saw, I don't know what you're specifically talking about.
Yeah. Well, there's been a couple. I mean, so like new videos kind of keep surfacing on it. And it's interesting. If you haven't seen it, it's taken at night. There are actually there's like some type of display happening on the ground or something. And there's like these like spotlights that are kind of like moving around it. And it'll hit this thing, which is like big and red and looks circular, and then there's like some weird anomalies kind of happening around it. Mm-hmm. And when the spotlight kind of hits a certain area, it like reflects off of it. Reflects like light back off of it. People come to me, they want to know my opinion about these things.
It's a troop transport. It's a warship. It's a warship. You're only building something that big if you got a lot of motherfuckers inside of it. Think about it.
Well, I agree with that, but
yeah.
I don't think it's a UFO.
What do you think it is, girl?
I think it's just a weird atmospheric light, kind of like what happens with light pillars. Because here's the thing about it. At the same time that this happened, Vegas was also experiencing this crazy, weird ice, snow, coldness, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is in the atmosphere, you have a bunch of ice crystals that create these weird light anomalies in the sky. So you've got light reflecting from the ground, hitting those ice crystals and making some type of image. Okay. Mm. And, that's where I'm landing on. And not because of like the big red circle, but because of like what's happening around it. Because there are other lights around it and shit. And because of actually the spotlight hitting it and reflecting off of it. But in all fairness, I haven't really dug too deeply into this. I've seen 3 different videos of it. All the videos are only showing, the actual thing in the sky. It's not showing like what's down around the area. So like if there's some weird red light display on the ground that's reflecting off of that, well, there you go. Case closed, problem solved. But we haven't seen anything like that. Now, it being Christmas time, that's probably the case. But I don't know. That's what I think. I want it to be aliens so fucking bad, but I just don't think it is.
I hope it isn't. I hope you're right. I think that was your motherly instincts coming out, telling us that it's all a bad dream and just close our eyes and go to bed. There's some monsters in the closet. Because if that shit's real, we're fucked.
Yeah,
that was a big ass motherfucking craft.
Well,
and
yeah,
you don't build them that size for absolutely no reason. For two little grays, right?
yeah,
There's
I
an
agree with that.
army of shock troopers in that
Yeah.
fucking thing.
And just to put it out there, this has nothing to do with whether or not Jeremiah might be paying me to say this. Like, this is actually what I believed. I think that this is actually some type of just light anomaly, and as amazing as it looks, it is something that happens and that we can reproduce. So we know it happens. But I don't know. Again, I haven't dug too deeply into it. Other people have started to. There was also the same thing happen, I think, like last week, and we didn't cover it because it turned out. So there was a light anomaly that happened in Wisconsin, I believe.
What?
I believe it was Wisconsin. But it looked like there were several UFOs, and they were kind of flying in weird formations, and and many people caught it on camera. Well, guess what? Similar situation. Guess what happened? A family, a church has like a house, or talks to the family across the street from them, or whatever, and they get together and pull their money together and put on this amazing light display. And they had just added spotlights, and those spotlights made it look like there were orb type UFOs flying around. There weren't. It was just the lights coming off of the Christmas display.
Wah,
Um,
wah.
and you see that a lot. You see that a lot in December. So I mean, and that's why we didn't cover it last week. Because but considering this has happened now twice in a row, I believe I thought I'd bring up the Vegas thing because that seems to be the hot news. This week. So there is that. Yeah, that's really all I had. I didn't really have anything else to talk about with the news.
I got two things. So one of them is very
Okay.
closely tied into that, and is actually something that we could have potentially brought up last week, but we recorded on Monday instead of Tuesday, so we didn't. But December 20th was the third birthday of the Space Force.
Oh, very nice.
Right. And I want to talk about that because I noticed it on Twitter, because all the other armed service branches were wishing Space Force a happy birthday, and Space Force was retweeting it, and a move that was reminiscent of when someone retweets every time they get mentioned on Follow Friday. And it just kind of like shows how tacky that whole thing is. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, we already follow you. You don't need to retweet the fact that someone else said follow this person on Friday. Like, just don't. And when Space Force is like, oh, look at everyone wishing me a happy birthday, it's like, dude, the Marines don't think you're real. Whoever runs their Twitter was told to fucking wish you a happy birthday. That's it. But December 20th, 2022, members of the armed services gathered in California to celebrate the third anniversary of the United States Space Force. And it's quoted as being a service that was once a distant dream, yet now a reality, which I didn't know that it was a distant dream. How long was Space Force a distant dream for? One of the quotes that I wanted to bring up was from, let's get to who it's from in a second. The quote is, "Space continues to be a warfighting domain," said Colonel Mia Walsh, Space Base Delta 3 commander. And I have no idea what that means, but I'm fucking glad that we live in America and that's actual thing that I could fucking say. Every effort pursued to transform and modernize the force ensures our access to space. So space continues to be a war-fighting domain. News to me, that's super cool. From Colonel Mia Walsh, who, if you get the chance, Google Colonel Mia Walsh, because I know Walsh is traditionally an Irish last name. This chick don't look Irish to me. So yeah, that's it. Space Force's third birthday. It still feels like an Easter egg being planted in a Marvel movie that's going to come to fruition 3 movies from now or something. Like, it's still weird. I know it makes sense that we should have something like this, but I feel like it's never been adequately explained. And I think people like us can draw our own conclusions as to how real it is or what its real purpose is. But for better or worse, it's something that continues to exist. Something else that I wanted to bring up, though, while researching this story, is that I didn't know it, but as far as back as 2003, there was something. I was looking at Mia Walsh's credentials because I wanted to try to see where she was born. She was a part of something called Space Control. And this dates back to June 2003. She was a Space Control Crew Commander, Chief Operations Training Sector. and there's several. She has several assignments to Space Control, which I guess was the precursor to Space Force. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't know that I've had anything before that. It makes sense that we would have. You know, probably going back to Star Wars. I mean, that's the first time we tried to weaponize outer space for whatever reason. Be it just because when things go up, they go up into space, and then when they come down, you know what I mean? That was always the rationalization that like Reagan used, was that the reasons we were putting lasers and satellites in outer space is because ICBMs would go up into outer space and then come back down, right? So outer space was a place where you could potentially like neutralize them, blow them up, and then let all the nuclear shit just hang out in outer space.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I
Or
mean,
it was to be used against fucking UFOs, which is what everyone else like. Those were the two theories. Like it was supposed to
sure.
be to catch the ICBMs in mid transit, but also people were like, no, it's probably to shoot down UFOs. You know, I don't know, but I wanted to bring that up.
Well, happy birthday, Space Force. I mean, what the fuck are they even doing though? Like, what have they done?
I don't know.
I don't
It's
think they've
weird.
done anything.
Yeah, I mean, man, if I was a kid though, like I would try to enlist in that shit.
And Space Force?
Fuck yeah! Listen to how like the quote. Colonel Mia Walsh, Space Base Delta 3 Commander. What the fuck? Like, I've been wanting to have that on my name tag since I could fucking start wishing for shit. Like, you know
Your
what I
name tag
mean?
at the counter.
Whatever, man. Fuck sandwich artist. I want to be a Space Base Delta 3 Commander. Fuck yeah, Pat O'Sullivan. I'm gonna fuck green bitches and fly around and shit. Like,
I
listen to
don't
the
even know if
raspberries
kids
like in Guardians of
know
the
about
Galaxy.
the Space Force. I mean, is that something that, I mean, every kid knows about astronauts, but do they know that the Space Force is an option?
I'm gonna make an early prediction right now. We are gonna do a Space Force deep dive episode where we figure out what the fuck these people are actually spending
Well,
because
yeah.
I think that there's no from because I've been following this shit, not super religiously, but like kind of close. And I don't think anyone in the space. I think they don't. There's no like Space Force recruits or like training camp. I think you have to come. You have to transfer into it. That's one of the things I think I know for sure is that Space Force is made up of people that were already in other branches of the armed services that are transferring in
Yeah. Well,
because they don't have their own like boot camp and shit, right? Because they're
yeah.
not that. They're right now. They're probably supplied by like naval intelligence and like Air Force people, which I know we have some listeners that are past armed service members. If you ever wanted to have a reason to come on the show, come on and like help dissect the Space Force shit. I think that would be great radio.
I think that would, yeah, I think that would be really interesting. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
maybe eventually we'll talk about it. I agree. They're probably just all pushing papers right now.
Oh no,
Um,
this is this. Did you Google Mia Walsh?
yeah, I did.
What the fuck you think about that?
I mean,
That
she's
wasn't
probably
some
married.
random. That wasn't some random choice.
Her, okay,
Don't even
but
say it.
she's she's probably married, Pata.
What do you the fuck? Oh, I get you by the name. Yeah, maybe she married an
Anyway.
Irish guy. She's Irish by injection.
Right, sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would be curious to find out what exactly it is that they are doing, because we don't really hear a lot from them.
Or what the plan is, or the space commander, the
Right.
space operation, space control crew. Um, I like the history of it. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, look,
it's
they wake up in the
interesting.
morning, right? They got to go to work. What are they doing?
Yeah.
I mean, what do they go in and do? You know, okay, I mean, just the basics. Well, and we don't really know. Nobody really tells us anything, and then wonder why the fuck we're skeptical of the government and all of its militaries.
Well, remember, like the Marines started as an offshoot of the Navy, and now
Right.
it's like its own thing. So
Yeah.
this might be an offshoot of the Air
Of
Force.
the Air Force. Yeah.
That's why it uses force in its name, because it's not like we call it the Navy Force. Like the fucking Navy and the Army Force is the fucking Army.
Well, I mean,
Air Force, and it's like, okay, well, the Space Force,
people
so
are very confused. Like NASA is a private company. NASA's not ran by the United States government. That's not
right,
our
right, right.
military.
Yeah.
That's not a part of us. And people don't realize that. I don't think. But
But I would say that there's absolutely no point in which NASA has autonomy from the United States government. I mean, they're fucking I don't. I think SpaceX, or you talk about like the Musk or the fucking Richard Branson shit. Maybe they might have a little bit more, but even then, I'd have to say those. I don't think they're letting fucking people just go into space. Hell no, that
Well,
shit's fucking
NASA
control.
isn't because NASA runs a very tight ship.
Right.
But they've been around for a very, very, very long time, to kind of work out those kinks. But they'd have the United States government has no involvement in NASA. They don't. They're two separate entities entirely. Now, that doesn't mean that,
Like
as
the
a matter of
Federal
fact,
Reserve is, I mean, I would say like I'm not trying to fucking get off on tangents and shit, but I mean, you could technically say the same thing about the Federal Reserve, where that's not necessarily tied into the Treasury Department. It's its own thing, but is it really its own thing? Like, I doubt it.
but NASA came out when NASA announced that they were going to start looking into UFOs in a very serious way a couple of months back. They came out and they're kind of feuding with the US government a little bit because they want access to the information that they have and they're not giving it up.
Yeah,
Look into that. Look into
there
that
was,
one.
I know there was something, there was actually something, with I don't know if it was a Pentagon official or DOD, but they were given a press conference about something completely random, had nothing to do with anything, right? Just a daily press conference, and this reporter stands up and starts asking questions about UAPs, and because UAPs didn't they change the definition of that? The P used to mean unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Yeah.
and now it's oh, and not the AIDS changed, and now it's unidentified anomalous phenomenon or something because they wanted to change the definition to include stuff that was underwater.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, and that happened. That happened recently, within the
Mhm.
past week or two, and someone brought it up at like a either a Pentagon or DoD briefing about something completely different, right? And they go, "Okay, do we have any questions for the press?" And this one reporter stands up and brings it, and the look on the dude's face when she starts talking is great because he's like, "Oh fuck," and he's like, "She's like, does this signal a shift in policy? Did something happen? Why did we change the why did we change the terminology to include this and all this stuff?" And he just deflected it. He was like,
Of
"Oh,
course.
you know." But yeah, I think it's time that we all re-up on that too, because I feel like there's moves being made. They might be small and incremental, but the goalpost ain't exactly where it used to be 3 months ago.
Oh,
You
there
know?
definitely are moves being. I mean, right? People just don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Get on UFO Twitter. Those UFO bros, man. I hate those guys. I was gonna say that, but I mean, man, they don't shut the fuck up about what is going on. But so there's plenty of things going on in that world. Don't think just because we haven't had another big hearing or whatever about it that nothing's happening. But yeah, I mean that was one of the things that happened. NASA decided, hey, we're going to get in this on this UAP train too. But if you want us to help you with our money, then you need to give us some information. And US is not doing it. They're absolutely not doing it. They're not releasing those records to anybody. So that right there should have been a big indicator for people about how separate the two entities really are. NASA's privately funded. Does the government invest in it? Well, sure, of course they do. And does that mean that there is some type of relationship there? Absolutely. But it wasn't the United States that got to the moon. If we did, it was NASA, and again, I don't think people realize that. So anyway, bringing it back to the point of the U.S. government and their involvement, just because we had NASA leading the way in space travel technology doesn't mean that the government didn't do things on its own. It absolutely did. You can go. I mean, the Air Force Museum here has an entire wing on space and the different crafts that they've done. You can walk into a fucking space shuttle. It's not like they've never done anything with space before. It's just that it's always been super secret. It always has been. And I think we need to stop doing that. And when you're talking about things beyond like bombs and guns, then I think we, the people, should be able to have a little look see behind the curtain. But I might be biased, so I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, sounds like it. One more thing I was going to bring up, but now I'm kind of like, Uh, um, something that maybe could be something we talk about on upcoming episodes. But I recently got hit with a double tap of artificial intelligence, virtual reality stuff.
Oh God, that's right. I forgot about this.
Well, I don't want to. So something else happened, and I don't like to talk about fucking. I know everyone's like taking pictures of their kids in front of their tree with all their presents and shit. I don't do that because I think that's fucking tacky. But one thing I will say is that my wife completely. This had nothing to do with me. Completely autonomous on her own. Went and bought my kid a what's it called? Uh, MetaQuest 2, like Oculus, like VR thing.
Okay.
And I figured out how to put porn on it pretty much 15 minutes after that thing fucking hit my hands. So, and it was just on a separate account that's locked. That nobody else can access but me. But I don't know if you've ever seen that VR porn before.
I mean, no, not really. I mean, I'm familiar with that as a concept, but
It is absolutely, it's awe-inspiring. It is complete. It's like ridiculous. I haven't even like really gotten into it, but there's a website, VR Bangers, that you can go to, and it's like all VR porn, right? Which is shot for this, and then you have to like kind of go through this thing. It's like if you ever had an Android before, imagine like it's not just an app that you download and everything works automatically. You have to kind of set it up a little bit. It's like using DOS again, which for those of us that are old enough is no big deal, but for some people it might present a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, I hooked it up, and like, I mean, the video quality is like not even 4K, it's like 8K. It's like super crisp, and you're sitting there and it's like they're right up to your fucking face and like talking to you. Like, it's absolutely insane. And I don't know. Never wanted to. I was at a party once, maybe 5 years ago, and someone came in with Google glasses, Google Cardboard glasses. Do you
oh
remember those
God,
when those
yeah.
were a thing? And he was like, "Check this out. You can watch porn on it." We were at like a fucking Super Bowl party, right, with people around and shit. And like, I remember putting it on and playing around with it for a few minutes and being like, "I don't want to have anything to do with this. This is bad. I will spend the rest of my life sitting in a chair with this shit on my head. All right. This will totally take over my fucking life. I don't want to have anything to do with this." And I gave it back to him, and I've never touched it since. And then my wife goes, and I've seen these headsets. I've seen the Oculus Rifts. I've seen all this shit, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. We did get like I got the PlayStation VR a couple years ago, and we never used it. We tried Beat Saber, we tried all that shit, and it just was not. It's kind of fun, but it's like, I don't know. The level of activity that I like when it comes to gaming pretty much is like with the Switch, right? Like, I do like the dance games and shit, but like, or bowling or whatever, but I'm not looking to do some totally immersive VR thing in my living room where I pretend like I have a gun and I'm killing terrorists. Like, that just doesn't seem like fun to me. So I've been
Yeah.
very hesitant to get into VR gaming. All right. But my wife went and fucking bought this thing and didn't say fucking two words to me about it, so I would have talked her out of it, right? And I'm putting that on the record right goddamn now. This was not my idea. So if this show stops coming out with new episodes in 3 weeks because Pat's locked himself in a room and has
Oh my
masturbated
God.
himself into dehydration because of this VR porn shit, not my fucking fault. I did not bring this shit into my house. Okay. But I will say this: it's absolutely incredible. It's
Oh my
absolutely
God.
incredible, and I've only just played with it for like literally like fucking 5 minutes, and it just blew my mind.
I don't blame you. I mean, you only needed one, so I
No,
mean,
I didn't. I
yeah.
was surrounded by people. I wasn't about to take it out, but no, it was.
Hold on, wait, wait a minute. Did you say you played with this thing while you were surrounded by people?
Yeah, well, it was like Christmas morning, and like everyone like played with it, like took it out, like, all right, and then I'm like, here, let's make an account, and I made an account, and then immediately it was like, and got the whole thing set up, and then tested it to make sure it worked. It worked. Okay, took it off, and then locked the account, gave it back to everybody, and that's it. I mean, they don't fuck around. Like, as soon as he opened up the box and I saw it, I was like, God damn it. Got on my phone. I'm like, all right, how do I do this? Figured out how to do it, and then
Oh my
just
God.
did it, and like, So I want to talk about that. The other thing I want to talk about was the replica fucking app that you've seen advertised everywhere. That's what you thought I was going to bring up because I sent you screenshots of that shit.
Yeah.
Disturbing, and I am not going to condemn it because that's not who I am as a person. But I don't know, man. I don't. This is very. We're headed into weird territory, and I think that you know, I was on the newspaper in high school and college. There's a little bit of me, believe it or not, that at its core is a journalist, and I think that I'm going to write about this, or we're going to talk about this, whatever form it comes out, be it one of the best episodes of On Wednesdays We Talk Weird we've ever done, or just be it something that I remember I used to write for Medium and I used to publish all my shit there.
Oh yeah.
It's somewhere because this is fascinating and it's
I think
incredible
we could do a
territory.
show on. I think we could, not just with Replica. I think there's other things that we could
Well,
incorporate
yeah, the
into it.
VR thing as well.
Yep,
I mean,
the VR
I'll do
thing.
some in-depth research on that.
And I think even like sex dolls would be a good. I mean, honestly, I mean, I can't imagine us putting that anywhere else on. I mean, but I think that kind of fits in the same realm of what this is. you know, just slightly different. Your sex dolls don't talk to you.
There was a device that they came out with about 10 years ago that I owned. That was it was the size of like it was the size like a shoebox. You'd stick your dick in it, and it had a bunch of different motors and all kinds of stuff. And you would watch movies with it, and the device would simulate what you're seeing in the movie.
Weird.
It was gross. It was disgusting. After you use it like twice, you're like, I'm not keeping this thing in my closet. I'm throwing this thing out. Like, why would you? I'm not going to put this thing in the dishwasher. I lived with my mom at the time. Like, I mean, this was a while ago. This was like back in the day. So I'm sure they've made technological advances. I just wouldn't know about them because I'm living the suburban life now. But yeah, the point at which a human being, a male, because vibrators are like, oddly enough, women have had the forefront of this technology for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Vibrators and dildos, like what women need, artificial like means of female stimulation has been there from fucking almost Jump Street. Like it makes sense. Dudes, like we haven't had that. Like pocket pussies don't really work. It's like a joke. They're like gag gifts. Okay. But this new stuff, like these like super realistic dolls, are like VR porn or like whatever. Like this stuff is like really catching up to where with what guys need. That really put like this stuff is now starting to reach the like male equivalent of a rabbit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Agree. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
I not really know.
Do you know what a rat? When I say rabbit, like those are
Yeah.
the
Yes. I know what a rabbit is.
the things with the things, not
Yeah.
like not like Thumper.
Right. No. Rabbit toy. I know what you're saying.
Right, but the male equivalent of the rabbit toy has not existed, I feel, until the past
But
couple
like, I
years.
wouldn't say the rabbit toys are very uncomfortable. I don't like them at all.
I just mean something that stimulates the G spot and the clit at the same time. Something that's like built for the female physiology. That like,
Well, yeah, we've always had cucumbers and fingers. I mean, that's
yeah,
I mean,
but dudes don't like. We don't have. There's never really.
Ziploc and lotion has been around for a very long time, Pat.
Who does that? That's an Ohio thing. I don't
People
know
do
what. That's prison shit. No one fucks a rubber glove in a Ziploc bag.
No one fucks cucumbers, but it used to happen.
I don't know.
I don't know, Pato. Some people fuck Mountain Dew bottles.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Everybody's been a dumb teen and they've gotten desperate to try new things. I mean, I'm just saying, you're right. There are toys now that you don't have to get so creative with because you just buy it and it does what it does, The
Mountain Dew bottle didn't work either. And it was a big mouth Mountain Dew bottle. Thank you very much. Don't forget that part. It was a big mouth Mountain Dew. And it still got stuck. God damn it. The fuck you think you're talking to? Huh?
I'm just saying, but I don't know about the technology of all these, sex gadgets and toys. Like, yes, I have toys. My preference, though, for using these toys is with another person. I don't get the appeal of solo sex. I don't get it. I masturbate a lot, but I don't get it's not because I God, it's so sad, but it's really not even for enjoyment anymore. It's because I have an addiction and I have to fulfill that need. But it's not like I like it. So if I don't, I'm going to be, I guess I have like emotional blue balls. I don't know. You know what? We're not going to get into my sexual psyche, but like I could never, I would never use like VR porn. I never would. That does not sound appealing to me at all. And I watch porn. I mean, and that doesn't sound appealing to me. I think that things like that extra step there, I think takes a special kind of psychology in order to come to. And I think to me, that part is interesting.
I would label that special kind of psychology as just male psychology. Men are more visual.
It could be.
Dude, what stimulates a man versus what stimulates a woman has been poured over by greater minds than our own. Like, that's well documented. Like, dudes get off on what they see. Women tendency to have a more emotional or intellectual erogenous zone than men do. And I know it's not true for everybody. I'm not trying to make blanket statements here. But yeah, VR porn definitely seems like a dude thing. I don't see women.
Sure.
Just if you look at the physicality of like what's going to require, like for the woman, I think when women watch porn, they like to see the woman and identify with it. When guys watch porn, they don't necessarily need to see the guy. 'Cause, you know what I mean? It's easier just to be like, oh, this is me. This is happening to me. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like another topic for another show or a Patreon thing or whatever. Maybe that could potentially be a paywall conversation.
Sure.
Or at least part of that. But
I think it would be interesting to talk about. But anyway, you're right. It's a different topic. We've already talked about cum. Now we're talking about masturbating and sex with your phone and your PlayStation and or whatever.
Fuck every robot in this house. The toaster better watch its ass next. Coming for that fucking thing. You know the best part about toaster? It's got 2 slots. One for me, one for my fucking buddy. Double team that shit.
Tag team the toaster.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
gonna bring one down to Withville. Fuck yeah, we're gonna gang up on that shit.
Just let everybody have a turn.
Yeah. At the Frogman Fest.
Buy one, get one free tickets to fuck the toaster.
Oh yeah. Hang some pictures of Jesus on the wall, put some fucking mood lighting up. Make it real weird at that fucking Airbnb.
I'm gonna tell you, I am downloading the Replica app, and I'm going to choose to talk to a guy, right? And I'm going to train that guy to be the dirtiest, most nastiest man out there.
I'm gonna prophesize that it will not be that hard. I think they come pre-programmed like that.
That's probably true, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Just out of pure, again, it's not. I'm not gonna be masturbating to it, but I'm interested.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'll report back later. Anyway, Pat O, 2023.
Yeah.
How excited are you for 2023?
I am. I think I'm an optimistic person in general. I don't dread upcoming years or anything like that. I think last year I was probably drugged up and indifferent about the coming year because that was right after my surgery. But for the most part, I've always been kind of optimistic about, New Year's and rebirth and what happens now and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've had this countdown in my head that 2023 is going to be better. And, I could probably be like, well, this Friday, it's going to be better, and it would probably have the same effect. But for whatever reason, I have chose January the 1st for my switch to flip and for life to be enjoyable again. But, we kind of planned out the holidays, right? We kind of planned out our shows this year a little bit ahead of time, and we knew that we were going to do this episode. But I don't think we were on the same page about what that episode was going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be interesting. And on top of us not being on the same page about what it was about, I changed my mind to just today.
Okay.
About it. So Initially, I thought that it would be kind of interesting to talk about future predictions. When you get to like the end of the year, you have a lot of people are reviewing the previous year, different things that have happened, best horror movies of 2022, or best food or whatever. But then you also have people that are like, well, this is what's going to happen in 2023. Here we go. And I thought that it would be kind of cool to talk about that, except I was so fucking bored reading about predictions for 2023. I don't know if I just expected a little more high strangeness, a little more magic, a little more something. But I didn't like what I read. It was basically mostly about the economy, politics, and celebrities. A lot of people like to make predictions about celebrities, but nothing that I really gave a shit about. So instead, I wanted to take a trip down memory lane and focus on a little bit more, things that have happened in the past that I thought were really interesting. Mostly like failed predictions. That's what I wanted to talk about. I have a couple of different topics. I don't even know, where should we start this, Pat?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah. So I guess my approach to this was, I was being a Coast to Coast AM fan, as I'm sure everybody that can hear my voice is. They would always do like year-end predictions where they would have anyone could come on, listeners, past guests, whoever. That was always their New Year's Eve show, right? As I feel like they would kind of amass these predictions and then kind of see moving forward, keep track of them and see which ones were true and which ones weren't, which ones came true and which ones were full of bullshit. So that's kind of what I thought we were doing. I thought we were making predictions for next year, so that's what I did. I got stoned and listened to the Beastie Boys, made a whole bunch of fucking channeled The Other Realm, and made a whole bunch of predictions for 2023. So you did a little bit more like actual research about the past, which is cool, And the only thing I would really have to add to that would be, I'm old enough to remember the shit show that 2012 was, right? Where like so many people had so many like concrete predictions about what the fuck was going to happen with 2012, and they were all wrong. And unless you said nothing, you were wrong. So the people that thought there was going to be a pole shift, the people that thought an asteroid Nibiru was going to come around the fucking sun, people that thought all kinds of shit was going to happen, people that wrote books and sold books and fucking went on speaking engagements and all this stuff about what was happening in 2012. None of it fucking happened, right?
Yeah.
So I take this stuff with a grain of salt. I think very, very tongue-in-cheek. Now, I did get higher than bird pussy and listen to some fucking trance music and try to come up with some ideas. So we'll see how correct I am.
This time. Yeah, last year's show.
And Adam from the Pine Barren Institute also had one too. So we'll throw that one in there because I want to spend a little bit talking about that one. Yeah. Did we get any voicemails? Because we did kind of put that out there. No, fuck them. Fuck you guys.
fuck you guys. You don't call us enough. We're not your mother. You can call us at least once a week. Anyway, last year's show we kind of did that. We went over like a couple of end of the world, doomsday, scenarios. 2012 was one of them that we talked about. I shared that at the time I worked for a conservative Christian call center, because I did. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible because I had to tell people that, hey, if you don't give us $3,000, then you're going to die on, the 21st of December this year.
Yikes.
It's fucking awful. Worst job ever. I used to come home I would cry going into work. I would cry leaving work. It was the worst. So that didn't last very long. Anyway, but there were a couple of others that I wanted to talk about, just because there's nowhere else we're probably ever going to talk about these things. I specifically did not add any UFO cults to this list.
Okay.
Because there's so many of them, and I would like to individually talk about them. We talked about Heaven's Gate, at one point, which is fun. Go listen to that episode. It's a great episode. And there's others out there, and they're just so fucking wild. I think we should just do a show on like just general UFO cults and what they believe in. But a couple of people that I wanted to mention here. Harold Camping. Have you heard of Harold Camping?
I have not.
Harold Camping was a Christian radio broadcaster. Okay. And Harold Camping predicted that the Judgment Day was going to come on September the 6th, 1994. As a matter of fact, he put out a book called 1994 question mark. And then he, September the 6th came and nothing happened. So he pushed it to September the 29th, 1994. And nothing happened. So he pushed that one off to October the 2nd, 1994. And then I don't know what happened there. It just seems like people just kind of forgot that this was going to be a thing, and just didn't really hold the guy accountable. I don't know if it's just because he was a small fish at the time. But in 2005, he kind of did it again, except this time he gave himself a little bit more of a grace period. He put out that the rapture was going to happen on May 21st, 2011. Okay. And as it kind of got closer to that date, he was like, oh, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, the 21st came and went. On the 22nd, the only thing he said was like, wow, I can't believe it didn't happen. I'm very shocked. So he reevaluated his prophecy. And on the 23rd came forward and said, actually, you know what happened was that was Judgment Day. So spiritually, people have been judged. And in October, is when we will finally have the actual rapture. And then, of course, it never happened. He retired like 5 days before it was supposed to happen. So he just continuously, the boy who cried wolf over and over again, of the world's getting in on this day. A lot of people donated money to him. It was a huge thing, especially the 2011 claim was big because he had millions of supporters making money off these people, and it never happened. Allegedly, there was a 14-year-old Russian girl who committed suicide over his predictions. And he was never held accountable for that. Eventually, he died in 2013. So
yeah, I feel like history is littered with shit like that.
Yeah,
that's when you talk about predictions. When you talk about the end of the world, I mean, clearly because the world has not ended yet. Pretty much every story is that, and somebody committing suicide because of this dude's get rich quick scheme. That's the heartbreaking part.
Yeah.
Now, that person was obviously mentally ill, and who knows what would have set them off. They might have killed themselves at some point because of something else anyway. But still, I mean, I think that's a good wake-up call to everybody in this, I don't want to say profession, because, like, none of us put this shit on our tax returns, but, if you deal with the metaphysical, if you deal with the paranormal, and you act like you're an authority and you're not, there's always the chance that someone's going to believe you. Someone that's not as mentally strong as other people is going to believe you and gear their whole life trajectory towards the shit that you're running out of your mouth just to sell a fucking PDF on Amazon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's fucking responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I love talking about weird shit as much as anybody else. I have a whole fucking podcast about it where I can talk about weird shit every week. But I will never try to capitalize on somebody's fear of the unknown just to sell them a fucking book and try to act like I'm in the authority of something that I don't know fucking what I'm talking about. Even my UFO shit, my alien shit, I'll be the first to tell you I don't know if any of that shit's real. You know what I mean? Because the last thing I want to do is shape somebody's worldview or ideology because of my fucking half-cocked ramblings,
Yeah, I mean, if you have a platform, you have a responsibility to run that platform, well, responsibly, and this guy decided to take it and create something else, and maybe he didn't understand the consequences of his actions. He did eventually come out and say that he was remorseful for making those predictions because it says, and let me just remind you folks again, says right in the fucking Bible, you can't predict when that's going to happen.
No man knows the hour.
No man knows the hour, and neither did Harold Camping. And so, you're already not following the word of God. If that's not good. If you're like, hey, I know what day it is. No, you don't. Even if, here's the thing. Even if, like, let's just pretend for a second, I'm not Christian at all, but let's pretend God and devil, they're real. And let's just say Satan comes up and goes, hey, you know what? I overheard God talking and I know exactly when it's going to happen. And this is the date. And that was the date. Let's just say that was the actual date. God would be like, oh, fuck you. I'm changing it now.
Yeah.
Not gonna make me a fucking liar in my own book, you know.
Right.
And yeah, he just changed it, you know, because he can. He's God, you know. So anyway, yeah, Harold Camping sucked, but he made a lot of fucking money on people, and you know, then he died. And but anybody that, and this is not isolated, people like this exist. You know, they exist now.
Yeah, if you're gonna start a cult, start a sex cult. Don't start a fucking doomsday cult, end of the world fucking shit. That's just
No, don't kill
irresponsible.
people. Right? Don't kill
Yeah,
people in cults.
starting a cult to get laid. Everyone's getting laid. We're all
Yeah.
smoking weed and getting laid. Hey, I get it. Like,
Right.
no judge, no harm, no foul. But like, the second you start making people think you know when the world's gonna end, that's kind of like, don't be a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, I got others. So the Halley's Comet Panic of 1910. Okay. So we
Mhm.
know Halley's Comet. She comes around every, she throws her comet at us about every 70, I think it's 76 years, 78 maybe, 76,
Mhm.
whatever it is. 70 some odd years, almost 80 years. And 1910, an astronomer by the name of Camille, I think it's Flammarion? Doesn't matter. She's French. I'm white. I don't know how to pronounce it. She published something that said, well, she was like in a article or something, and she gave her 2 cents on it all. And she said that, well, when that comet passes us, we're going to be in the tail of that comet, and that comet gives off this gas, and it's really poisonous, and we're probably going to die. And the fucking world lost its shit. Believed her. People believed her. And other astronomers came forward. They said, no, we just are not in agreement with this woman. She is wrong. Sorry. But people still took advantage of it. Gas masks were a popular thing that year. People were selling shit like anti-comet pills and anti-comet umbrellas to protect you from this gas. People were like taking extra precautions and putting like tissue paper around their windows and their doors. And then the comet came, and well, it's going to be 2023, so obviously we're fine.
Right.
But it was published. I mean, it was published worldwide. I mean, people really thought that this was an actual threat. So there wasn't like a report on like possible suicides, but I'm sure there were some, because that's what people tend to do.
Mhm.
When stuff like this happens. And yeah, so even sometimes if somebody has a degree in something, they're not quite correct. They're just crazy. So I mean, there's that. So any thoughts on that one, Pato?
I do love the French. They got style. Anti-comet umbrellas. That's a good one.
Anti-comet umbrellas, anti-comet pills. So yeah, well, and some people were arrested even for selling these anti-comet pills. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. See, that to me, that's more secular. So I feel like I'll give it a free pass. I just hate it when people act like they're talking to God like that. I think that like aggravates me. So like this French person with their comet racket, like I'm more more likely to let that slide. You know?
Oh yeah,
Like,
I agree with that.
it's just like, okay, snake oil salesman. That's part of the American way, I guess.
Yeah, capitalism. I mean,
yeah,
there's a demand. There's people to fulfill it. Whatever.
Mhm.
I understand that. I agree. It definitely a lot less dangerous. But still pretty irresponsible. And I'd never show my face again in the world of astronomy.
But I think that like it I understand that it's not it ended up not being 100% medically accurate, but it does seem scientifically sound a little bit. I mean, it's not, it would make sense. Now, granted, there's the atmosphere that's going to burn up all that shit, and who's to say that what's in the tail of the comet's poisonous anyway, or that it's necessarily going to drift in this direction. There's going to be kind of intersection, but like, I mean, it kind of makes sense a little bit in a very like, if A then B way,
yeah,
right?
I mean, maybe. No, not really.
No.
No,
You think we were automatically too smart for that? Well, apparently not.
I mean, at that point, you get together with your other colleagues and you're like, hey, shouldn't we be concerned about the gas coming off the tail of that comet? And then they all resoundingly say no. And then you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, but what about this? No, still no. We know because and then, somebody explain it to her, him, her, assuming it's a her.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was just silly. People freaked out, and obviously the world didn't come to an end. So that was interesting. But comets have that. I mean, again, I mentioned we talked about Heaven's Gate. That was connected to a different comet. situation. So it's not like that's the first time that's ever happened. It's not like it'll be the last either. It'll continue to happen. But yeah, so I'm gonna slide into my next two things here. Because they're kind of quick, I guess. Um, there was a hen, okay, in Leeds, England in 1806, now known as the Prophet Hen of Leeds. You know, you guys know how much I love my weird ass animals. The Prophet Hen of Leeds laid eggs that said Christ is coming. And people would come from all over the world to watch this hen lay eggs. And sure enough, every day, pop out that egg, and that egg read on it, Christ is coming. So surely this had to be something, right? Animals can't write. You know, they can't control what's on their eggs that come out. But no, actually, it turns out that this was all just a big hoax by the owner of said hen. He would take the egg, write Christ is coming, and then shove it right back up into the hen for the hen to then birth it back out. So, you know, don't abuse. I think that's kind of goes without saying. Don't abuse people or animals in your, you know, doomsday scheme. That's
Right.
is not really a good thing. So, you know, don't do that. Anyway, as a fun quick one, I'd never heard of it before, so I'm going to throw it on here. Another thing that we might spend a little bit more time on is The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's something that pops up all over the internet.
Oh, the internet.
But that show's been on for like 30 fucking years. So at some point, can't you pull an episode out of when you're on for that long? Of course, they've suggested anything and everything at this point. You know what I mean? I feel it's like it's the 10,000 monkeys in a room with typewriters scenario. You know what I mean? Where you're just going to come up with stuff at some point.
The Simpsons has right now to date 738 episodes. It's a lot of episodes, right? You know, people. There's like list after list after list of things that the Simpsons have predicted. And I agree with that. Even like going over these lists, some of it are like, you know, some of them are like things that are like obvious. Like there was one episode where Lisa goes into the future and she talks to Marge on a video phone. And specifically, Lisa was in the year 2010. And people lost their shit. And this episode came out in like 92 or something like that. People lost their shit because, well, guess what happened in 2010? Steve Jobs came forward with the iPhone and introduced FaceTime. But it's not like video calling in 2010 wasn't a thing, because it was. You know, it was. It's just that's when it became popular. You know, most people, they predicted smartwatches and things like that, I guess, you know, but not really. People speculate about the future a lot. When you have 738 episodes to work with, yeah, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna hit on it. But they've predicted all kinds of you know, like the results of different Super Bowls. And you know, also, you know, one that I thought was fun was, you know, they predicted the very famous tiger attack on Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried and Roy. Yeah. But at the same time, isn't that like, I mean, that was a roll of the dice. That was probably going to happen. They kept fucking around with those tigers. You know what I mean?
Well, right. Are they predicting the future or are they manifesting it?
I think that, and this is something that I've noticed from my own writing, is that, and maybe it's magic. A lot of people do attribute it to magic because it's thought, it's intent. You know, you're hyper focused on something, and you're bending reality towards the whim of your art. But I think that sometimes if it's also could be attributed to being able to read the writing on the wall, right? Siegfried and Roy were two European white dudes that would fuck with these tigers in a Las Vegas show night after night after night after night, and they made a whole career out of it. Simpsons made a joke that eventually the tigers are going to maul one of these motherfuckers, and guess what? That's what happened. Now, does that mean that they somehow manifested that? Is that proof of chaos magic in the wild? Or is that somebody that could say, hey, if these two goofballs keep fucking with these tigers for this Las Vegas show, poetic justice, one of these tigers is going to eat one of these guys.
Sure.
Right. You know what I mean? Same thing with like Trump being president. Like everyone acted like that was such a far reach for them to pull that out of nowhere. You know? Was it really though? I mean, Reagan was a president. Reagan was a movie actor. You know what I mean? there was a history for this. Look at Jesse the Body Ventura. He was the governor of Minnesota, and he was a fucking professional wrestler. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the governor of California for God knows how long. Like, there's precedence for this shit. It doesn't just happen, you know. And they seem to be able to read the writing on the wall and kind of like make things into jokes. And they do 100 jokes that don't end up panning out, right? So the Simpsons thing, I guess I would need to sit down and look at all the evidence before I really sign off on there being something metaphysical happening there.
Yeah, I wasn't really impressed, if I'm honest. I mean, again, some of the stuff, like I mentioned with the video phone thing, that it just, I don't know. I don't think they predicted it. It just is what it is.
Yeah, we've been suggesting video phones, or did Dick Tracy predict the Apple Watch? Like,
yeah, some people do think that.
I don't know.
I was like digging for like media that's predicted that, and it's very much like that. It's like, oh well, this sci-fi movie, I saw a rant somebody went on about fucking Star Trek, and about how, well, Star Trek knew what the future was going to be like, because now we have this and that and this and that, and it just keeps happening. And it's like, okay, but like, also maybe somebody just sat down and wrote Star Trek, and then people were like, that'd be really fucking cool if we made something like that. How can we make something like that? And then they fucking make something like that.
I think there's a portion of that, right, where science fiction does influence. I'm just, right. So I read a lot, and there was a book that came up on my queue that I finally got off Amazon. I'm reading it, and I was reading it, in the process of reading it, I'm like, why am I reading this? Like, who suggested this? Where did this come from? And I did a little research, and I realized that it was Jack Parsons' favorite book. And when I was reading that autobiography on Jack Parsons, it mentioned this as his favorite sci-fi novel, and then I had put it on my Amazon queue, and I finally read it. And going back to him, he was somebody that was a rocket scientist. He was also an occultist, right? But he was very influenced by early science fiction literature.
Yeah.
And that ended up influencing what we tried to do with solid state fuels for rockets, right? So I think there's a part of, people being influenced by Star Trek, so they're trying to replicate Star Trek technology. I think it's also there's a portion of Star Trek said this, and a million other, like, Babylon 5 said that, and Battlestar Galactica said this, and, Buck Rogers said that, and this ended up being the one that was closer to the target, right? Yeah. There's a lot of science fiction out there. There's a lot of fantasy out there, and they all make some pretty fucking outrageous claims. And just because one or two of them line up doesn't mean that their author was augmenting reality. It just, when you choose to talk about how Star Trek predicted the iPhone with the tricorder, you're choosing to acknowledge you're choosing to not acknowledge all the other predictions that every other fucking voice in science fiction made that didn't come true.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly. I mean, go watch a sci-fi movie from the 50s and go watch one that takes place in the year 2023, and you'll notice that, like, life isn't quite that way. So,
or the flying cars.
Exactly. Right. In the 90s, when I was a kid, surely we'd have flying cars by now, but we don't,
Or hoverboards or skateboards.
But we do have a personal computer that we keep in our pocket all the time that we didn't have in the 90s. It's these things do happen. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm not too impressed with the Simpsons theory, but it's a big one. So I just thought we would talk about it and put it out there. I also wanted to share a personal story. And I know I've talked about this before on the show, but I don't want people to forget it. Most importantly, I don't want to forget it. One of my personal friends received a text message from herself from the future.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. So she gets this text message from herself, and it is dated in the future. I, for the life of me, can't remember the date, but it wasn't like it wasn't like 60 years into the future. It was like 10 years into the future. Okay. And all it said was null. Null. The fuck does that mean? We don't know. I definitely, and every time I talk about this, it's like a cue in my mind to get back together with that person and ask her about this. And, so I've dug into it, and I always do every little bit. I dug into it a little bit more today. Other people have gotten text messages from the future. It's a glitch that sometimes does happen, but not this specifically. I haven't found one where it's a text message from themselves that says null, right? And that's dated in the future. Normally it's like you're texting somebody they'll text you, and then like when they text you, the date is like 10 days later or something crazy. So what the fuck does that mean? Maybe 2023 is the year that we find out. I don't know. I like to keep that mystery alive. So that's all I had. Pato, you had some predictions that you wanted to share.
Yeah. All right. Let me get into my shit right now.
I'm not going to predict anything, but here's what I will say, since I haven't plugged it at all. Over on the Patreon, okay, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you have until, let me look at the dates here. Hold on. You have until January the 4th to become a Patreon member. And if you subscribe to the Patreon by January the 4th, I'm doing tarot readings for the year, for the whole year, for all the members. So subscribe by January 4th, patreon.com/itsashers, and you will get a 2023 tarot reading.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
It's my gift to the patrons.
Oh, so what did I have? I had, well, first, so I caught this on Twitter. Adam from the Pine Barrens Institute tweeted on Thursday, December 22nd at 6:46 a.m. Chicago time, because the dude is keeping Trump hours on Twitter. Mark my words, at some point in this year, I am going to be the one to put Bigfoot in a body bag. So that's Adam's prediction for 2023.
We're marking your words right now officially.
Yeah, tweeted on December 22nd, 6:46 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that's okay. So we're gonna lock that one in. But I also want to spend a second talking about, do you think there's a chance that someone actually bags Bigfoot this year?
No.
I mean,
I always hope that there is, but realistically, I mean, my hope has dwindled.
Because it seems reasonable. I mean, with social media and reality TV and interest in the paranormal growing, all these things are growing, right? They're all escalating. Could we finally reach that apex where, yes, we get definitive proof of Bigfoot on camera, or yes, we have somebody. I always wonder, like, who's going to catch Bigfoot? Is it going to be the people going out to catch Bigfoot, or is it going to be some random hunter in the woods that just happens to kill it?
Well,
right.
Here's one thing about that. That's a great point. The people that are going out to look for Bigfoot, okay, if they catch him, that's it, right? What are you, a little 15 minutes of fame there because you're the guy that fucking caught Bigfoot? I mean, you're famous for a little bit, and then everybody just kind of, the years go on and people just kind of forget. And guess what? Nobody's watching your YouTube content anymore, or whatever the fuck it is you're making. Nobody's watching your TV. There's no more finding Bigfoot because we found him, right?
Right.
That gravy train's gone. So you kind of have a bias when you're out there hunting Bigfoot, because you especially if you made a career out of this of some sort, you'd have to find something else to do. And so that's why I don't subscribe to just one cryptid and make that my business. That's why I do many, because I can just move on to the next thing. But a lot of these Bigfoot buddies, man, they don't. All these Bigfoot bros, that's all they do is Bigfoot. So I don't think that any of them will ever bring a Bigfoot in because they know what that means for them in their career. What I suggest to you, if you are a Bigfoot bro, which you're probably not, if you're listening to the show, you probably like all the things. But if you are, find a second hobby at least. Like, find something else too, because once he's found, it's over.
Well, I understand what you're saying there. It's kind of like why cure cancer when you could treat it, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But I think that if you were the one that caught Bigfoot, there would be a lot of financial opportunities there to the point where you might not even have to worry about what the next one is. And if you did have to worry about what the next one is, you're going to be funded, and you can go and look for the chupacabra, or you can go and do whatever. There's going to be I mean, the world is full of stories about creatures or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to have another interest. Most of these guys don't. They don't want to hear about chupacabra. They don't want to hear about Dogman. They only want to talk about Bigfoot. And so it's like, no. You need to expand your horizons. But I think it depends on what your intention is. Some people do it for different reasons. Some people really actually do believe in the science of it. They do. And so they want to find Bigfoot because they want to further that science. But I'd say most of them don't actually care about that. They just want to be the guy that's in the woods hunting for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I hear
You
you.
know, but I could see a random hunter, of course, bagging one, and I think they should. But I think hunters kind of have their own like well, I can't speak much for the hunters, but the bush people, okay, is the only thing I can think to call them. Talk to some bush folk, I'm telling you, out in the middle of nowhere. They know that Bigfoot is real. They are very, I mean, it's not a question of is it, they know that they are, so they're not going to shoot it and kill it for science. They don't give a fuck about science. They're living out in the fucking woods, pissing in a hole in the backyard. I don't care. But they're the ones that can get closest to the things. And I do believe that they do get closest to the things because they're not a threat. So I think any hope of bringing Bigfoot in is either going to be a scientifically backed expedition, which we're far from, or a hunter that just so happens to take the shot and gets it, you know? So anyway, what else you got, Pato?
So that was all the third party stuff. So now I just have a bunch of predictions that I made. First one, an archaeological discovery of great importance will happen. Something in the Middle East involving mummies. It'll start a snowball effect that will last far beyond the scope of the year.
Like a curse?
No, but I don't know. That's all I got.
Oh,
These
sure.
were
Okay.
This is actually me trying to like fucking wait for shit to come into my head. So I don't want to say that this is divination or anything, but these are legitimate predictions. So don't press me on them too much. Another one. Underwater exploration will ramp up, mostly due to a singular, technologically innovative financer. It will be groundbreaking and historically significant, but Twitter will shit all over it anyway. So,
well, that one goes without saying. The end.
I think that they were going to push, because underwater is a frontier. I don't need to explain it to you. Everybody here knows it, and it's only a matter of time before we focus on it and we start doing more with it. Sure. So I don't know if that was specifically referring to James Cameron and the new Avatar movie or whatever. I don't know if I was going in the polar opposite direction from them finding mummies in the desert, but the next one that I came up with was underwater exploration. Myself creatively, I know that I have goals for 2023, and there was another one that I was going to bring up about Twilight inspired erotica, which I will not go into detail right now. But if you know, if you understand the Twilight fans that are out there, I know that hopefully this is a different fate than the dinosaur alien erotica that we tried to do with Pixie, the stripper from Colorado. But we'll see. Here's my last one. Check the news after New Year's Eve. Look and see how many 20-year-old white men go missing on New Year's Eve with their bodies turning up in the water.
Huh.
And if there's not a ton, it's because this prediction saved all the little honkies. So, this
so actually, 20-year-old white man, don't be near water on New Year's Eve.
No. This actually stems from something that we talk. I mean, it's a smiley face killer reference, obviously.
Sure.
But I had an old apprentice of mine who I'm friends with on Facebook. We have a pretty good friendship, even though we don't work together anymore. He recently stumbled upon the smiley face killer thing. And he was posting about it on Facebook, and his mind was completely blown. And there was me and a couple other people that were like, "Yeah, dude, this is a thing," And that was one of the first episodes that I think I did with you after we got through all the alien shit. We started talking about smiley face killers. So, this is the time of year when it happens a lot, especially New Year's Eve. And I'm just throwing this out there. Let's see what happens. But pay attention to the news post New Year's Eve. Maybe even extend a little bit to February. Because these men tend to go missing and then get found drowned near bodies of water a month or so later, a couple weeks later, right? So missing person cases post New Year's Eve, bodies found near water, end of January, early February. Let's see what happens. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Yeah. And that's all I got. So we'll check in next year and see, did we find mummies in the Mideast? Did we find shit underwater? Did I make Twilight porn? We'll see. No, but I really that's one of my, and maybe we can end the show talking about this, about our personal goals for 2023. I know that you got a book you want to come out with. I would like to publish some stuff too, because I God knows I've written enough of it, just fucking sitting here
Oh
collecting
yeah.
dust on my hard drive. But also the movie thing, I've I don't know. This year was kind of a good year for me movie wise, and I definitely want to keep that momentum going. But you go on IMDb, and I got 14 director credits, 17 writer credits, 26 producer credits, but it's all for shit like half hour, 20 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And there have been years where I've made 2 or 3 short films over the course of a year that were all 10 to 20 minutes long. And it's like, if I had just focused on one project, I would have had a full length under my belt by now. And that's something that I don't know if like maybe our average like podcast listening audience member appreciates or not, but you can make all of the short films in the world that you want to make. And that might be good and impressive to a certain segment of the people. But until you start making movies that are 75 minutes or longer, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I have absolutely mastered that first tier. I am very much in true historical pedo fashion. I am the guy that's got like 9 degrees from community college that refuses to go to a university. You know what I mean? Like that is my persona to a fucking T, is that I am the king of the bottom feeder. And what I need to do, if I'm ever going to advance my career at all, if I'm ever going to be known as being someone capable of doing bigger things, I need to do bigger things. I need to do that 70 to 75 minute or longer feature-length film. And until I do that, fucking none of this little shit matters. As many times as I want to keep repeating the fucking formula and seeing little variations of success, none of it matters in the big term. So, my prediction for 2023, I will not hopefully do another 48-hour film because I'll be busy doing something else. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think that like 2022 specifically was not a very creative year for me. It just wasn't. I had bigger things going on, right? I have things I had to deal with. Couldn't have fun. But I think that a part of that was just building and maintaining a schedule. I mean, as weird as that sounds, God, I think that's so fucking important. Because I'm so busy all of the time doing all of the things that like now I am finally like just kind of hitting the reset button on everything and just going, you know what, fuck this. It's my life and like I can choose to work when I want to. This is how I'm going to choose to work. And I think building a schedule for me is going to help. And I think that 2023 is going to be much more about creating, for myself. I just feel it. I don't know. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, listen to your feelings. They're important. They're messages.
They are. I agree with that. But I just think there's other things in my life that I needed to clear out. I'm a romantic in that way. And that, I do believe that things happen for a reason and they happen in a very particular way for a reason. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. But I feel like with all the shit that's been thrown your way in this past year, there's a purpose for it. And so all you can do is take all that shit and learn from it and continue forward with what you've learned and the tools that you've learned. Stop repeating the same old shit, because guess what? You're just going to get the same old results.
I agree.
Learn to learn how to learn. And that's what I've done in 2022 is I've learned how to learn. So,
right.
And I'm going to take that with me into 2023 and do better and be better and feel better about what I've accomplished. I don't feel bad. 2022 sucked. You're right, Pat. Great things didn't happen, but it did suck. But I don't feel bad about it like I normally do. I've had years where I'm like, fuck, man, I just wasted this whole year. And I feel guilty. I don't feel that this year. I feel good about it. So that's important. And I think a lot of people are. And I think that, my prediction for 2023 is that it's going to be better than 2022. And not only is it going to be better, but it's going to be worth all the shit that we've all been through the last couple of years. Let's be honest. It's just been a shit show, right? And I think it's going to pan out great. I'm not going to say that 2023 is your year because then I jinx you, but
our year. There is no me. There's no you.
Well, yeah.
Wherever I go, you come with. Wherever you go, I come with.
It's
Fucking
gonna
stalk your
be
ass.
right. I'm gonna fire you, and fucking you're gonna be outside. Like,
Fire.
let's do a podcast. Yeah, I'm gonna fire you.
You're gonna fire me.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
fire you.
you can't. You can't. That's the most craziest thing in the world. It's like I'm gonna break up with you. Like, fucking what? Like, oh, it's like that now. Okay.
I get a new host and everything, and you're still on every recording. I'm like, how the fuck do you keep getting here?
Just still using my Zencaster. That's how. It's like how do you stop being mommy? Like this is fucking. You just can't turn that off.
No, it wouldn't happen. You're stuck now. I don't know.
Yeah,
All those years ago, you came onto the show, and now you're stuck here
that's all right.
perpetually. But maybe we'll make like a Jay and Silent Bob style movie of like me and you starting podcast. That's what the feature length film will be.
Can I talk about? Let's do that for. We'll end on that note because that was something that we talked about during the course of this year, and it's something that I teased, and I actually wrote. So
I'm still interested in doing this.
So here's what I came up with, and it's unfortunately it's probably not. I mean, it's not too late because we're still, we got plenty of time. But I will say this. So my buddy Derek Brash, who I've made movies with a lot, and he makes full length movies and he does commercials and he's like a real filmmaker. He actually graduated. He finished film school, whereas I just dropped out after a couple semesters and started working at a video store because that's what you're supposed to do in the 90s. But no, he's more of a filmmaker than I am, and I had he was looking for his next movie to do this year. And I had sent him a script that I had written many, many years ago that was a full-length version of the Tentacles movie that has gotten very popular recently. Well, it's always been popular. It's like people that movie, like it'll be popular for a year or two. It'll find some new service. It'll be kind of big, and then it'll die down, and then someone else will want to put it out. And that's kind of like the way it's been. And if you went to see any of our events this year, I was selling copies of the DVD, the Blu-ray, and then we were gonna shop it out to Troma for Troma Now because they picked up 2 of my other movies, and we ended up finding an even better distribution deal with another company who I can't remember right now. But yeah, so I had written a full length for that thing. Like, how would we expand that 10-minute movie into like a 75, 80-minute movie? And I did it with a group of kids that finds this book that accidentally summons this demon, and then the demon is going around and killing the kids from underneath their beds. That's how it transports around, and it's all tentacle hentai stuff. And we do many variations of that riff. So if you've seen T.S. for Tentacles, if you've seen that, there's one with guys. There's one where the chick is sleeping in her car because she's trying to get away from the chaos, and the thing comes out of the car. We do as many different variations on that idea as you could do in 70 minutes. And then the whole movie itself is kind of a riff on Angel Heart, which I won't say anything more about, but if you've seen Angel Heart, you know what I'm talking about. So it was something I wrote, and I thought it was good. And, the Tentacles thing keeps kind of like bubbling up to the surface. And I sent the script to Derek, and I'm like, what do you think about actually doing this? And he read it, and he goes like, fuck it, let's do it this year. Who gives a shit? So as of right now, that's hopefully going to happen in 2023. But before that, I had seen Be My Cat on Asher's insistence for the Y2K movies. And
You're welcome.
And I loved it, and it made me think. I was thinking about her the entire time because the obsession that this guy shows for Anne Hathaway, some of you people listening right now have shown towards my co-host, and I've noticed, and I'm cool about it because you guys aren't dangerous yet. But man, do you really like her? And I'm not surprised or angry about it whatsoever, but it was just a connection that I made in my head. And I remember seeing Be My Cat and thinking like it would be really funny to do one of these about Asher's. And so I started writing it. And I start writing stuff all the time. So I could sit here and pitch you movies that I've never made for a whole entire episode of the podcast. So there was the idea for that was that there was going to be it was going to be a fake documentary about Asher. It was kind of about this show, but it was about her, and it was going to be about someone that was obsessed with her. And the idea was that the main character of it was going to be a security guard that had a Mothman sighting here in Illinois, and he really wanted to bring his story to Asher's because she's the Mothman girl, right? And it worked on that level, but it also worked on the level of, if you've ever had a paranormal experience, it's very hard to make sense of it. And it was this guy trying to make sense of what he had seen, and Asher's represented his avenue to do that. So that's kind of why he was, again, another layer of why he was obsessed with her. Kind of like in Be My Cat, that guy wanted to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway was his vehicle to that. So he was obsessed with Anne Hathaway because she's this beautiful actress and all this stuff, but also because he wanted to be a filmmaker, and he thought that when Anne Hathaway saw his film, she would help him be that filmmaker. So this guy was obsessed with Asher's, like the way fucking 90% of you are, for whatever reason. But there was also the thing is that he had this experience with the Mothman that he was trying to make sense of, right? So that was the basis of the story. And he lives in Chicago because this is where the most recent Mothman flap is happening. And because I live here as well, and I post on Twitter sometimes, hey, I'm going up to the Rock Island Public House sometimes. Like, he would like show up at the bar that I would be at, and I'd have to fucking deal with him. And he would be like, kind of like some of our listeners are that I have to deal with, which are like kind of creepy. Like, they're nice, but like, you know, whatever. You know, exactly.
Know.
You know who our listeners are. So like, there was a little bit of that, and then he's the person that's filming the whole thing is this chick that he's friends with, that her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend is a like a ghost bro. Like, I don't know what you would really call him.
Oh, so it would be like a documentary style?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things that I from doing some of the stuff with the Leland, the I can't remember his shit right now, but doing the paranormal stuff here in Chicago, trying to deal with, like, figure out who these fucking people are, is like, I've run into a lot of these ghost bros that like get paid to go to these haunted places and film shit by, like, I don't know, I think they're all like rent boys. Like, if I could just be honest for a second, I think they have these like rich old queer benefactors that like pay them to do this stuff just so they come back and show them the footage, and then they fucking blow them or whatever. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but like, it's all very, very suspect. So there was a little bit of riff on that, where like there's this chick who's like trying to be a documentarian because she's trying to get back with her ex-boyfriend, who's like this gay for pay ghost bro. But at the same, so that's like kind of a subplot. Like, that's why she's filming her friend who had this Mothman encounter, right? That's the whole reason that the thing is being filmed. So it's not necessarily from his point of view, it's from her point of view, filming all this, right?
No, are you making this?
No, I just wrote it, and I write stuff all the time, and it just fucking sits in my head. So then there's an episode, but legitimately, like, paranormal shit happens to him. And then after, there's a thing in the woods at Bachelor's Grove where she runs into her ex and blah blah blah. He's got another encounter, and he really wants to bring it to you. But you're very like, you don't really talk to him, and then he bothers me about it, and I'm like, I'll sit there and fucking drink beers with him and shit, but I'm also like, I go on these long rants where I talk about giants and shit. And then there's we make mention on the show about the Mothman, or the Loveland Frog Festival thing. So then it turns into a road movie where him and his female friend decide to drive to Jeff's Loveland Frogman Festival, which we would film at. And then along the way, they stop at some of these paranormal spots. Like, they go to Churubusco and they do the Beast of Busco. You know what I mean? Like, those little like roadside. So it's kind of a road movie a little bit. And then they get to the festival, and we were going to shoot some stuff at the festival. And then there was a scene where you get kidnapped. And there's obviously, I didn't have the whole thing written, but there was stuff in the middle part was kind of eh. But then the third act was he rescues you from a hotel room with a bunch of frogmen. And it would be frogmen. It would be men in masks, frog masks with suits on and shit, about to do whatever to you. And he rescues you.
But are they people or are they frogmen?
They're frogmen.
Okay.
And he throws you in the car, and you guys take off driving, and you kind of come to, and you're like, where are you going? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, and you're like, well, do you have he doesn't have his phone with him or anything, and you guys are completely lost, and there's like a Waffle House, so you stop there, and neither one of you has your phone with you, and you're in this Waffle House in the middle of nowhere, and it's in the middle of the night. You have no idea how to get a hold of anybody or anything, and you're like, well, can't you call for help? Like, what's like, don't you remember any fucking phone numbers? And he's like, well, I remember one phone number. And you're like, well, what is it? And he's like, well, 77359 weird. So he calls the number, which, using the magic of movies, guess whose phone it goes to? It doesn't go to your phone. It goes to my phone.
Yours, yeah.
So then I come and I rescue you guys, and while we're there, a smiling man in black comes down and sits with us, and there's this dialogue exchange or something. And it ends up that at this point we've switched to it's no longer a documentary, it's a third person narrative. We do the whole Mask of Leslie Vernon thing, where if you've ever seen the Mask of Leslie Vernon, the first 2/3 of it are found footage documentary, but the last third, it turns into a straightforward narrative. And it ends up that they really want Asher's, and they've kidnapped this guy's friend, the documentarian, the chick who was married to the Gay for Pay Ghost Bros, and you got to go to this warehouse to rescue her. And the warehouse is guarded by dogmen, which normally would be a problem, but I'm a werewolf. So I turn into a werewolf, and there's sword fights and shit. It kind of fell off the rails at the end. Like I said, this isn't done yet.
Oh my god.
But that was it. And I felt like I had a lot of good stuff there. There was a lot of garbage still that needed to be sorted out, but there's some good stuff there. We piss on the dogmen people. Pat's a werewolf. You know what I mean? Like, we checked the boxes. I think the phone number thing was really clever. I don't know. That was that. Not too
The
late.
phone number thing was pretty clever.
Well, I'm a clever dude sometimes. I have my moments. But that was that. I started writing that. I was writing on that for a couple weeks. And then something shiny distracted me, and I lost my interest.
Well, in 2023, Pat O, I feel like you're going to, do something.
Something, right?
I want to make this movie about me because
of course you do.
So
you gotta. I should say. You know what I'll do? I'll send you all of my notes, and you read them, and then maybe
pick it apart.
Because that's the thing, is that, like, there's no way, like, it doesn't have to be. I wouldn't want to do this on my own. Like, this is about you. Like, you should have input. You should have as much input. So if it sounds like I have half the story, okay, perfect. Now you do the other half, and then we figure it out. You know what I mean?
I mean, do you guys want to on Wednesdays we talk weird movie?
Why not? I mean, movies about fucking everything else.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, I'm fine with that if you guys would watch it, and it wouldn't be like exclusively. Obviously we have to reach out to people that don't listen to the show too, but it would definitely have a lot of like 77359. That's hilarious. That's funny.
Well, I'll be honest. Like, let me pretend. Let me just get totally detached for a second here. Doing this show with you has been very influential to me. And I've done other things before, and I don't want to ever think of the day that the show will end, but I'll do other things after. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, this is what it is. But I feel like I've collected. I have a lot to say about all of this. You know what I mean? I have a lot to say about the paranormal community and the podcasting community. And I've been many different people in my life, and I've worn many different hats, and I've seen many different things. And this just kind of felt like a way, like even like I said about the Ghost Bros, the people the ghost hunters. Like, if you've never met these people before, they are completely different than like cryptid people, right? Like, to go to like a convention, like the Withville stuff, the stuff that you and I have gone to has been mostly like cryptid based or UFO based, right? But when you like just deal with like the ghost people, I'm not saying they're better or worse, but it is different. And that is something that I feel like, I hate to be like a hacky 80s comedian that's like, well, black people do shit like this and white people do shit like this. But there's a certain element of that where it's like, if you don't know the different like social breakdowns, they're there. And there's a lot of comedy to be mined from these.
Oh yeah,
stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't want to seem like, oh, I'm just this tourist that's been here, that's been undercover for the past 2 months. Like, Jeremiah's undercover for different reasons, but like, I'm undercover too because I plan on making fun of everyone at some point. You know what I mean? Like, this is just me doing research for like a really elaborate joke that I'm going to play on everybody. It's not it at all. But I've definitely been doing this long enough to make some observations, crack some jokes. It's kind of what I want to do with this too. Because that's the vibe of the show.
Sure.
How what would we wouldn't do it on Wednesdays. We talk weird like historical drama. It would of course it would have to be part comedy. You know,
A comedic historical drama sounds great.
sure.
All right, Pato, I have to pee, so I'm done talking to you.
I'm done talking to you too. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. I believe in all the great things that you're all going to do. And we'll be back next year with some awesome topics. I'm so fucking excited for. Yeah. Until then, we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.